Hello, today is Monday, October 2nd, 2023. It's my dad's birthday. I'm Adam Hartog. Sitting next to me, as always, is my co-host Thomas Frey, whose New York Giants are playing in 20 minutes. Nervous?
Yeah, it's horribly stressful. I can't have it up on this tiny screen and my notes, so I just have no idea what's happening. Producer Rue's gonna have to clue me in.
He will.
Also, happy birthday, Adam's dad.
Yes.
Mr. Adam's dad.
Yes, happy birthday. Rue's also a Giants fan, so he'll be keeping tabs on that. We have a fun episode. We're going to talk about college football games that happen, NFL games that happen over the weekend, a new super duo in the NBA in Milwaukee, the Celtics adding a key piece for a title run. We're going to do awards, and we're going to do our bold prediction of the year.
Of the week.
All right, let's get into it. Okay, taping this just before 8 p.m. Eastern on Monday, October 2nd, coming off an exciting weekend of football. I love the fall. It's finally October. Season's changing. Leaves are going to change soon. Do you want to jump right into college football?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. What game do you want to start with?
Let's do Oregon State versus the Utes.
Where are you on the Oregon State fandom wagon?
What's the scale? I don't know where to start with that one.
Would you consider yourself a supporter of the Beavs?
I think a supporter is a good way to put it. Yeah, I'm not an active, make sure I tune in right as the game starts kind of fan. I wouldn't say it's anywhere near my actual fandom for teams, but I'm a supporter. I root for them to do well.
But let's say this situation, Friday night, they're playing at I think 8:15 on Fox Sports 1. There's nothing really else fantastic on. Will you be watching them if you're not doing anything? Will you make sure to tune in because of DJ? Then I would consider you.
No. You changed it at the end. I wouldn't make sure to tune in. If it's the only thing on, I would happily tune in. But it's not must-see TV. It's just I check in on them. I like to see how they're doing. And when it's on and I'm not busy, I will watch.
Okay, cool.
But I'm not changing around any sort of plans. And, if I'm watching a show and I'm super addicted to it and they're on and it's a bogus game, I don't even care.
Well, what if it's just, you wouldn't know? I guess I'm asking if you're watching something and you're like, oh, Oregon State and DJ are on, will you tune in until you at least know that it's a bogus game?
I am more likely to tune in than I am almost any other college.
So then I would say you are moderately a fan.
Yeah, okay. But
from afar.
Once DJ Uwe is gone, I'm probably out.
Okay, that's fair.
Unless they replace him with someone equally cool.
Is there anyone that you know right now
No.
that would keep you locked in?
Arch Manning.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, otherwise, off the top of my head, no, I can't.
Leaving Texas to go to Oregon State in a failing conference.
It would be a big step down for him, but a big step up for me as a super fan.
100%, yeah. You would be getting a Manning.
Oh, yeah.
In Corvallis. Oregon State remains one loss. The Pac-12 looks super strong, beginning to cannibalize itself. Utah was ranked number 10 in the country, still without Cam Rising, so not at full strength yet, but this is a good win. It's really tough to win at Oregon State.
I think it's a big win for Oregon State, especially after their loss, but I still think Utah's really good. I know they were 10th before this game, so that's not exactly a hot take, but I just think without Cam Rising, it's really hard to grade them because their offense is bordering on inept with their backup quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. They're down to 18 in the new poll.
That makes sense.
Oregon State up to 15.
Okay.
That's all I had on this game, really.
Yeah, DJ Uwe is good. What is the highest you could foresee him getting drafted?
4th round.
Okay.
I don't think he's that good.
Okay. I can live with 4th round.
The physical talent is there.
Yeah. I can live with 4th round.
Might have to.
If you said 6th, we would have been engaging in fisticuffs right now.
All right. Also in college football, number 8 USC beat Colorado 48-21. Future Bears quarterback Caleb Williams.
48-41.
What did I say?
21.
41, yes. 48-41. Future Bear Caleb Williams set a career high with 6 touchdown passes. USC took control of the game early. They were up 34-7 in the second quarter, but Colorado came back and made it a one-score game with under 2 minutes left before USC recovered the onside kick. But win or loss, Colorado stays right in the spotlight in the college football world.
Caleb Williams is really, really good, and he's going to be really, really good in the NFL.
You could probably add a third, really, to either of those.
I think he would improve a lot of teams right now.
He would improve the Bears right now.
Definitely. Sorry. Which is, after his best game ever, we're saying this too.
True.
As a passer. But I watched a lot of this game, and I turned it off right before it got good. You texted, the eyeballs emoji with Colorado. I was like, I literally just turned this off. I Googled the score, and it was a one-score game. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I watched all this stinker of a game, Colorado looking bad. I think Shedeur's really good, too. I think if you put him at actually, a big program with an actual offensive line, I think he would be a legitimate Heisman candidate, for sure. But this actually didn't do anything for either team in my eyes, like you said. I think they're both exactly where I thought they were. I think Colorado coming back showed something. I think USC getting out to that big lead showed something. I don't think it mattered. I think keep making it interesting was good for Colorado, but I don't think it changed anything.
I agree with what you said. If you're surprised that Colorado was down big to USC at one point, then you haven't been paying attention. And if you're stunned that Colorado made it a fight later in the game, then I kind of feel the same way. Then you're just ignoring the fact that they still have dudes, even though they're not a complete football team yet. And the opportunity for Shedeur to shine behind a good offensive line in a big program might still come at Colorado. He's projected as a first-round pick in a lot of mock drafts now, which seems a little jumping ahead of the gun, if I'm being honest, because he's played 4 games at the top level, and guys like Trubisky played 13 games at the top level, and it was still too small of a sample size to take them that high. So I think he'll come back. I also think the fact that it's his dad and they're really working to build something here, so I don't think he's going to bail on him for that reason. I think he'll probably come back and want to see through how far they can do this.
I agree with parts of what you said. I think he'll come back, and I think they will have a much stronger O-line next year than they do this year, and they'll be a much more complete program. But I didn't agree with your sentiment on his projection as a first-round pick based on his limited sample size. Yes, Trubisky played too few games, but he still got picked in the first round. So, the projection, while maybe jumping the gun, it is accurate based on probably where he would go if the draft was today, even with that small sample size.
I'm not sure about today, but I agree that based on, if you're using past
projecting
results from this season as a predictor of future results.
Yes, if you extrapolate this small sample size over the full season, which is essentially what an NFL mock draft projection is, then I think that would be an accurate projection. So while it may not hold firm if he doesn't play well, I guess I just disagree with that. It may be jumping the gun because it literally is based on future results.
I guess my point should have been about the idea that he is a guaranteed, that we know he's going to be worthy of a first-round pick based on the small sample size as opposed to his inclusion in mock drafts.
Gotcha. Yeah. I agree with you on that. I think his first-round status should be written in pencil, not pen.
I agree, yeah. Is the path there? Sure. Do we know that he's good enough to be a first-round pick yet? I don't think we do.
Sorry, I'm laughing because you said sure.
Like Shedeur?
Shedeur, yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. That's quite all right. Number 11, Notre Dame. Speaking of USC, they play soon. Beat number 17, Duke, 21-14. This was a very unique game because it was the game day game at Duke and then Saturday night in Durham against Notre Dame. That is not something that we're treated to very often.
No, it is not. However, with Duke's new status as a football school, as
Confirmed
confirmed by Daniel Jones, who was the Leslie Chow? Who did the game day for them? What's his real name?
Ken Jeong.
Ken Jeong. Dr. Ken Jeong, that is.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, Duke's on the rise, man. I honestly think a lot of credit probably should go to Daniel Jones. Getting a first-round quarterback out of there probably helps recruits, I would imagine. Or
I think
helps
so,
the recruiting
yeah.
process.
Having Cutcliffe there for forever, too.
Yeah.
But if you're Notre Dame, this is why you get a Sam Hartman, a guy that has years of ACC starting experience at Wake, has won big games before, was the best quarterback in that conference last year, and without him, I don't think Notre Dame wins this game.
I agree with you, but I need to say what we talked about before the episode about Sam Hartman and his future success. I don't think he can be a good NFL quarterback because he is too handsome.
And if he shaves the beard, that changes things or no?
No, because I saw a video of him with shorter hair and a shorter beard, and he was equally as beautiful. And he's crossed the level of handsome where talent and handsome can, like, they start to negate each other.
They can't coexist.
Yes. Where as handsome goes up, talent goes down. Like Jimmy G, for example, could never reach certain heights because he's just too good looking. Whereas like Brady and Rodgers are objectively handsome guys, but it doesn't cross into the threshold where the talent is negated.
It's not a distraction in the locker room.
That's
what you're saying.
Yeah, well, no, it's not a matter of that. It's there's a scale. It's as handsome goes up, there's a certain like breaking point
where you reach diminishing returns.
Yes, where you get so handsome that your talent simply cannot keep up. That's what I think happens to Sam Hartman.
It's just overpowering handsomeness.
He's a beautiful man. He's like model handsome. He's not just football handsome.
For what company? Or like an Old Navy or like the top of the line kind of stuff?
What's the one in Neighbors? Abercrombie, I think, where they stand outside shirtless. He could be in that one. Yeah, or what's he could do Levi's jeans with Brett Favre. He's got the beard. Wrangler. Sorry, Brett Favre. And Wrangler.
Yeah, we don't want to get sued.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, please God. Don't do that.
What would he need to do to?
Nothing. There's nothing he can do.
Nothing aesthetically or cosmetically that he could do.
I mean, yeah, he could become uglier, but why would he do that?
To be good at football.
No, I think he's too naturally handsome. I think if you start faking it, that's even worse.
The football gods don't like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think it's impossible. If he proves me wrong, then he's going to make so much money. It's going to be insane.
On this game though, Duke's defense is legit. Their offense is not threatening even before the Riley Leonard injury, which will keep him out a few weeks. It's a high ankle sprain, so he actually kind of dodged a bullet because it looked pretty bad at the end of the game there when he had to be carted off. Very classy move by Sam Hartman. I don't know if you saw after the game, he was standing outside of the tent waiting to say, hey, hope that isn't in a million pieces. It's probably not exactly what he said.
Yeah, well, he also left his post-game interview to do so.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he was like very clearly distracted during his interview, and then was like, I gotta go check on him. He's like a hell of a player or something like that. It was, yeah.
Seems like a nice guy by all
Seems
accounts.
like a great guy. Great guy, beautiful looking.
So what's the catch?
It can't be that good. Can't be that good.
Oh, that's the catch?
That's the catch.
Okay.
Just, like, can be good. I would say his ceiling is Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton's not a handsome guy.
I'm not talking looks.
I'm just saying, though, like, I feel like...
It's not an automatic equation. It's not like the uglier you are, the better you are.
It's not exactly proportionate?
No, it's just there's a breaking point that when you reach it, it starts to diminish your talent. And he's past the breaking point, much like Jimmy G was past the breaking point. Your ceiling can only go so high when your ceiling for looks is that high.
Gotcha, okay.
And the Red Rocket's not an ugly guy either. He's just red.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into that kind of nonsense.
I can't speak to his soul, but he's not a horrible-looking guy.
Notre Dame still plays number 25 Louisville, number 9 USC, and Clemson. So if they win out, the path to the playoffs is still very much alive for the Irish.
Yeah, I think it's pretty wide open this year, honestly. I think it'll come down to the last few weeks, which is different than in years past, except for it was like if they lose to this team, then they're out kind of deal. I think now it's going to be like all of these teams have to win out to get in. I think it'll be exciting.
It makes for the best college football seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we'll move on to number 20 Ole Miss beat number 13 LSU 55-49. This was a shootout from the jump. I think it was 31-28 at halftime. And I think the big story, there's two big angles about this. One of them is that I think it's Lane's first signature win at Ole Miss. SEC win.
I'm not going to lie to you. When did this game happen?
What's Saturday night, 7 p.m.
Yeah, I had no idea this game even occurred.
I was sending some text updates like, wow.
Saturday
no
night.
Context wows.
Yeah, you do that all the time. That doesn't mean...
But on Saturday, it means something. I'm watching something in college football.
I don't know what I was doing Saturday night, but I was probably sleeping. I was so tired all day Saturday, probably from my concussion that I may or may not have.
True.
So, yeah, I don't know. I didn't know this game happened, but good for Lane. Good for Ole Miss. I wonder, do we have the ranking for now where they went up to? Are they like...
I do have the ranking. They are now...
Can I guess?
Yes.
15.
Ooh, no.
14?
No.
18?
No.
Higher? 12?
No.
Which would tell me higher or lower? I don't know.
Lower than 12.
10?
No, I meant...
Oh, 13?
No.
14?
You already guessed that.
What the hell's going... Okay, tell me what it is then.
16.
You only go up 4 spots?
Well, LSU was 13, but this is also LSU's second loss of the year already.
Well, also, though, I started at 15, and your no was confusing.
Well, you didn't ask a direction.
I just assumed you'd give it, like a hot or cold.
I did once you asked for it.
That's normally how these things go, though. You don't just be like, no. Usually you give some sort of hint.
All right. You're right. You're entirely right. I'll go
Tell
home.
the people about this game.
All right, yeah, the Rebels had over 700 yards of offense, not a defender in sight showed up to this game. Jackson Darts, touchdown to Trey Harris with 39 seconds left, won the game for the Rebels. And in 2 seasons at LSU for Brian Kelly, it's mid-October, and for the second straight year, they have 2 losses, and they're all but eliminated from playoff contention. And when you make a move like they did to bring in Brian Kelly from Notre Dame, that's just totally unacceptable, especially at a place like LSU.
But how's his accent? Is it thicker or less thick?
He's opened up to the fact that the accent was obviously fake, and he was just trying to endear himself to his new family in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
My family.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad.
But no, he's on a $100 million contract, one of the biggest in the country, has not won a national championship, but has gotten there with Notre Dame. And the thinking, bringing in somebody like Brian Kelly, not the thinking, the expectation is that you're going to win a national championship. The last 3 coaches at LSU all did that.
Well, what was the rule that you set? Is it 3 years?
It's 3 years, but it doesn't mean that at somewhere like LSU the pressure isn't going to be there earlier, especially because a bad recruiter at LSU is still going to bring in a ton of talent because it's LSU and every kid in the state dreams of playing there growing up.
I think the pressure is for sure on, but when LSU makes that kind of investment in him,
they can't fire him.
Yeah, no, that kind of monetary investment. So I think while the pressure is on, his seat is relatively cold.
I would agree that I didn't mean pressure that he's going to get fired, but pressure that the fan base is threatening to murder him.
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of that already, yeah.
There was a guy last year that called into the Paul Feinbaum show, which is like the college football radio show, and was talking about how instead of Texas A&M paying Jimbo Fisher's buyout, which was like $70 million, they should just hire a hitman to kill him.
He went on the radio with that idea?
He did. They did not entertain it.
There's some things that are meant to be inside thoughts that are meant to be kept upstairs. That was probably one of them for that guy. Or like within a small circle, not on a national radio broadcast.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But if they don't start winning soon and at least staying competitive late in the season for the playoff, the noise is going to get really loud.
Do you know what the rest of their schedule looks like?
I mean, they play Alabama, they play Auburn. I don't think they've played yet. It's the SEC West.
I guess I just meant, are they through the hardest part of their schedule?
They're probably through. Well, they play Alabama later. That's probably it.
Okay.
That's the hardest game they have left for sure. But besides that, I mean, Florida State and Ole Miss. the hardest half of their schedule.
How was I don't remember. Was it close against Florida State?
No, they got blown out too. Neutral site though.
Okay.
Not that it does make a huge difference because they were the 5th ranked team in the country then. Nope, sorry, I got that mixed up. They were the 23rd ranked team in the country, unless that's now. I think that's now. Mizzou's ranked, but they should beat Mizzou.
And if they don't,
oh man, then
it just gets louder and louder.
yeah, that would be the biggest win in Eli Drinkwitz's life. He's the Missouri coach.
What a name.
Yeah.
Drinkwitz?
Drinkwitz. Yeah.
There's no O or it's just Drinkwitz?
I'm double checking this now.
Yeah, please verify before I go around.
Yep. Eliah.
Eliah?
Eliah, so it's like Elijah without the J.
Okay.
Eliah Drinkwitz.
Okay. Drinkwitz. I think the K has a built-in K a little bit. Drinkwitz, so it's
Drinkowitz.
Yeah, you see what you're saying?
Drinkowitz.
It's not a hard K. It's a little bit of a softer K. Drinkwitz? Yeah.
That's pretty much all I had on college football for this weekend. Quieter slate than last weekend.
Which is good because we have some NBA talk to get to. So
we do.
Yeah.
What is it?
The Damian Lillard trade finally occurred. Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks. Portland received Jrue Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Toumani Camara, a 2019 unprotected first, and
2029.
Sorry, 2029. Yeah, we were well past 2019. 2029 unprotected first and 2 unprotected swaps, all from Milwaukee. The Suns got in the mix. They got Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. Then Portland went and flipped Jrue Holiday to the Celtics for Time Lord Bob Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, a 2024 first, and a 2029 first. There's a lot of moving parts to that. Let's just start with the Bucks. How do you feel about the trade for the Bucks?
Gut reaction is it's great for Milwaukee in the sense that Giannis publicly called them out, saying, "Hey, I need to see you guys trying to maximize my window here." And they did that. And I don't know if anything has come out about this, but it's difficult for me to believe that they didn't make that trade knowing they would feel more comfortable about Giannis staying long term if they did it. I'm not saying they did it knowing that he was going to stay if they made that trade.
Yeah, I don't think Giannis gave assurances that he was going to stay if the trade was made, but acquiring a superstar like Dame Lillard for sure helps his case to stay. My thinking on it is that it's honestly a great move for them. They struggled in late in games, especially last year when Chris Middleton wasn't, I guess, fully healthy or in his best form, I would say, because he came into the season like halfway through and then he was hobbled, then he was coming off the bench, and he just was never the all-star caliber Chris Middleton. And Jrue Holiday is an excellent defender, or some do argue that he's the best defender in the NBA, and he's a good scorer. He's a good complementary scorer, but he's not the scorer. So, and Giannis is, for all of his talent, not a guy that's going to really go in a half-court set and create his own shot. And his free throw struggles, they can just foul him. So now they get a proven clutch-time scorer. Their defense with Giannis and Brook Lopez in the back line is theoretically still just as good. Chris Middleton's a good wing defender. Pat Connaughton's a willing defender. He's not a bad defender. And they just brought in Campaign for some guard depth. I think they still need to bring in some extra veteran pieces to bring off the bench. But that lineup is really dangerous. Dame only improves their spacing because Drew's a good shooter, but he's not an all-time great shooter like Dame is. The two of Dame and Giannis playing off each other is going to be one of the greatest pick-and-roll combos we've ever seen. When Chris Middleton was the full-time pick-and-roll ball handler for them 2 years ago, that's probably, or what was it, 2 years ago they won the championship? Yeah, 2 years ago. That was when they were at their peak, and last year you just couldn't do it. Now you put Dame into that, it's going to be disgusting. They're going to be so much fun.
Yeah. So a couple things off that. One, the Dame and Giannis pick-and-roll is immediately, without seeing it, the second most unstoppable play in the NBA behind Jokic and Murray.
I think the first is actually Kevin Huerter off of pin-down screens. I'm pretty sure, statistically speaking, it's like the most effective play in I think like in NBA history. It was that and like James Harden isolations when he was in Houston. Yeah.
I believe the Herder thing, but I'm going to refuse to acknowledge it.
It might not be pin down screens, but it was something like that.
You know what I mean, though,
Yeah,
in terms of
yeah. It's ridiculous.
Like, what are you going to go to?
No,
like,
no, I
big
know.
moment? It's like, let's clear out for Herder.
I've just heard JJ Redick mention it a few times, and I thought it was hilarious.
But like you said, Giannis has never played with somebody with this kind of range. The only thing I worry about is Dame getting exposed as a defender in the playoffs, and I think that's where Jrue Holiday, the loss is probably going to be felt the most, and I think there's going to be times in the playoffs where teams just get Dame stuck trying to chase around a guard off screens or even a forward that can shoot, and he's going to stand no chance, but it brings you closer to a championship if you're Milwaukee, and that's all that matters with Giannis right now.
I think Dame's defensive issues or lack of defensive ability doesn't impact them negatively as much as his offense improves them.
I agree with that. I think it's a net positive still.
Yeah, I just think he's literally an all-time great scorer. That's pretty much without question. And an all-time great shooter especially. And I just think that when you have two perennial, I shouldn't say perennial, but over the last 4 seasons, Defensive Player of the Year candidates on your team still, you can get away with having Damian Lillard as your point guard defensively. And Chris Middleton's a very good defender. You could probably put him on their best guard and just try to hide Dame the way the Knicks did with Brunson. And that was without Giannis and Brook Lopez on the Knicks team.
And then the other thing is you look at some of the other trades for guards that are in their 30s, and most of them don't stay at the level that we've come to expect from them over their careers. But like you said, Dame is the second best shooter of this generation for a point guard, and the only guard recently that has maintained their elite level well into their 30s is Steph Curry, and they play a very similar style, so there's no reason why they can't expect at least 2 to 3 elite years out of Dame.
I would almost argue that
Chris Paul?
Chris Paul's game aged really well for a very long time.
But then there's been a steep decline over the last 2.5 seasons.
Yeah, but he's 4 or 5 years older than Dame?
Now he is, but I'm saying that's from his age 30, 35 season on, he was not a I mean, you said that's why the Suns moved him.
But Dame's only 33, and Chris Paul's a lot older than that. I think Chris Paul's 38.
But
he's 38 years old. He's 5 years.
It wasn't out of nowhere decline for him. The Chris Paul decline has been pretty linear over the last couple seasons.
I mean, yeah, but he was still his PER was still 21, and he was an All-Star last year, Chris Paul. Sorry, 2 years ago. Last year he was still 17.7, so he's still a well above average player. And Dame's was probably 30 last year. So even if there's a linear regression, it would go from, let's say, 30 to 28 to 26. He's still an all-NBA caliber guard that they're getting.
Well, I'm saying just his style of game, I don't really expect that to be the case.
You don't think there will be that regression, you're saying?
Yeah, I was using Steph Curry as an example because they play similar styles.
Well, I don't necessarily agree that they play similar styles, but their shooting ability is similar, but the way they play is pretty different, I think.
Well, yeah, I guess that could just be situational, though, too.
Yes and no. Dame kind of needs the ball in his hands to score, whereas Steph's almost, I would say, over half the time a shooting guard, where he comes off of screens and just runs around and plays almost like JJ Redick more so than he does Kyrie Irving, whereas I would say Dame leans more towards isolation scorer than he does off-ball threat. So that's why I'm saying I don't think they played similarly.
I just meant it's more, I will probably see Dame play a lot more off-ball in Milwaukee, even though that's when he has not played his best international team, when he hasn't had the ball in his hands, he hasn't been the same lethal scorer that he was in Portland. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes his role, if they'll just let him run the offense, because Giannis doesn't like doing that as much as he likes kind of being put in positions where he can get to the basket.
Dame's usage is probably best served at 30% plus. I don't think Giannis's is that high. I'm pulling up the stat right now. I want to make sure I don't butcher it, but I think Giannis's, a lot of his creations are grab a rebound and go. So I still think Dame should be able to maintain some level of high usage. Yeah, Giannis's usage last year was very high, but it was 39. But that was also because he had very limited offensive help. But I think his could drop closer to 30, and Dame's could drop a little bit closer to 25, 28, and I think it would still be more than enough ball to go around, because Giannis doesn't need the ball in his hands to score and be effective.
Yeah, I think he will appreciate having somebody that can come in as the primary ball handler more often.
Yeah, I think they're a very good complementary duo. If you put another 30% usage guy like Julius Randle on the Bucks, I think it'd be a horrible combo. You know what I mean? So their usage is coming in different ways. I think less than Dame's age concerns me. I would say it's more just his injuries. But last year they said they held him out even when he was healthy. So it's hard to know how many games he actually would have missed. But I think his health is probably the biggest concern that I have, much more so than fit or age.
That's fair. What do you think of this trade from the Portland side?
I think it was about as good as it could have gotten. I knew once they got Jrue that they were going to flip him. I didn't know how quickly. So in total, including them flipping Jrue, because that was probably why they did it, versus the Heat trade, because once you get Tyler Hero, you're not flipping Tyler Hero for assets. And in total, they got DeAndre Ayton, Toumani Camara, all the picks, and then they flipped Jrue and got Robert Williams and Malcolm Brogdon and more picks. And they could probably flip Robert Williams again if they wanted to, and they could flip Malcolm Brogdon again and get more picks. And I think they did about as good as you could possibly get in trading a 33-year-old superstar, and I couldn't have expected them to get this haul, honestly.
I agree, and this is why you hold out and you don't trade him to Miami when they're the only ones that make the first offer and everybody's clamoring and saying he wants to play here, you have to do right by him, you have to trade him here, you're not going to get any competitive offers because everyone knows he wants to go here. And you don't get nearly this haul if you sell him for 40 cents on the dollar to the Heat.
Mm-hmm. If they sell him for Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson and whatever picks the Heat have, which isn't that much,
then they're fucked.
Yeah, then they're screwed. That's literally all they have. That's all they can say for this. Now they got at the center position, DeAndre Ayton's top 5 probably, talent-wise.
I think them getting Ayton is a great move for them.
Oh, for sure. And you put him with Scoot and Anthony Simons, and I think they'll honestly, dude, they could trade Jeremy Grant, Malcolm Brogdon, and Robert Williams all within the next 6 months and get even more assets just to give them to contenders. If, let's say, the Thunder need a center and they want Robert Williams, it's very feasible. There's a lot of options out there for them. I think it's a very good deal all around. And just to get the Suns' perspective, they needed depth. Nurkic helps them. I think if he, again, health issues, but if he can stay healthy, you just need a plug-and-play center in that offense. No one is stopping Jokic no matter who they are, which is basically what every team in the West is gearing up for. You just need bodies. So you get Nurkic out there. You get a little more wing depth in Grayson Allen. Nasir Little and Keon Johnson have shown flashes. So I think it was a good move for pretty much all involved, especially because DeAndre Ayton was very visibly unhappy there. And I don't think KD and Booker particularly liked him. It seemed that way, at least towards the end. So I think it was good. Moving towards the Jrue flip to the Celtics, I like the move. I do.
For Boston?
I do. But they have such little depth. It is insane.
Dude, they have... So, okay. Next year, cap hit, they have $37 million for Jrue Holiday, $36 for Porzingis, $32.5 for Tatum, $32 for Jaylen Brown, $20 for Derek White, Al Horford at 10, and then everyone else beyond that is making less than $4 million.
Yeah, the minimum, essentially.
Yeah. So they have so much money tied into a few guys.
Their whole starting 5 is, I don't even know how much money you just said, but they're probably, I assume they're going to bring back Blake Griffin if he wants to come back and play.
If, that's a big if, apparently.
It is, yeah, it is. But he was good for them last year in spurts. I'm sure a guy like Serge Ibaka they could get, a Taj Gibson. There's veterans out there who can provide them spot minutes that can help, but Porzingis has a major history of injuries. Al Horford's not getting any younger, and they have no depth whatsoever, and I don't know if they're going to stagger these guys' minutes. I mean, defensively, though, if healthy, it's going to be incredibly dominant starting five, especially with Porzingis. I know he's not the rim protector we thought he was going to be when he was with the Knicks, because he was blocking I think 4 shots a game at a time, but he's still a very good rim protector, and I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do their starting lineup. I don't know if they're going to start the two of them together, Horford and Porzingis. I don't know if they're going to bring one off the bench. It'll be interesting to see, but I worry about their depth. But I think in terms of replacing Marcus Smart, it doesn't get much better than Jrue Holiday.
It doesn't get better. I mean, okay, look, it gets better, but in terms of
lockdown
defensive guards,
in terms of 1-for-1 similarities in play style, it doesn't get better.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, I'm with. I mean, yeah, you get Steph Curry.
That's I meant in the point guard position, it gets better.
In terms of literal positional and play style similarities, the upgrade, it doesn't get any better. But it's just the trade-off of depth and the timing of the trade being so close to training camp and preseason, where it's going to be there's no free agents left. Let's say they did this trade months ago, and you could sign a Dante DiVincenzo to the mid-level exception or something like that. It leaves me worried for their depth, but you only need a 7-8 man rotation in the playoffs. But I mean, it's honestly Porzingis. His injury risks are crazy.
For me, it's actually as much, if not more, the reliance still on a year 17 Al Horford.
Yeah, I think it could be 1-1A in terms of concerns.
They're one big man injury from being in serious trouble, though, is the point I think we're both kind of hammering at.
Yes, and the two of them are huge injury risks, and they don't have anyone behind them, essentially.
Yeah.
And their guard depth behind who they have right now is, depending if Derek White comes off the bench, Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, who's, fine, but it's not great. They lost Grant Williams. They lost Marcus Smart. But to our credit, we said, and we got killed on social media, at least I did, for saying that if the Celtics run it back as currently constructed, they're not a serious contender. And I was totally right, because they blew it up and made a bunch of moves. So I just wanted to toot my own horn a little bit, because I was spot on. People are all in our Instagram comments saying how wrong I was, and I was dead right. I wasn't right about how it was going to happen. I thought they were going to move Jaylen Brown for something like this, but they traded away all their depth for something like this. But I was completely right, so I am vindicated. That's all.
Yeah, like you said, they need to make some serious changes, and we have enough of a sample size from the last couple of years to know that as things currently were constructed, it just wasn't working. They kept stalling, and whether this works or not, they needed to shake it up and try something else, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, couldn't keep kicking the can down the road. You had to address it, because otherwise, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result?
Yep.
So that's what they were doing. But I think that's all I got on NBA.
Yeah, me too. On to NFL talk.
Otherwise known as the
meat. Yes. Slim Jim, please answer me. I miss you.
Slim Jim. I don't remember the other one. What's the other one? This Butcher Box. I heard about. They send you meat.
It's Slim Jim, and it's.
Oh God, they're
it's
never
the
gonna
Bigfoot
pick us
one
now. Yeah. That's bad. Bad for us.
Hold on.
Bad work out of us. They're never gonna sponsor us now. Jack Links.
Yeah.
You can check the footage. I didn't even get to Google it yet. I just thought of it.
So we're going to do, like usual, the storyline, surprise, which could be good or bad, disappointment, and the games to watch for next week. Would you like to get us kicked off?
I would love to get us kicked off. So my storyline is that the Cincinnati Bengals are running out of time. The Cincinnati Bengals right now are essentially who the Pittsburgh Steelers were with Big Ben in his last year, who the Colts were with Phillip Rivers in his last year. That is who Joe Burrow is now. I think I heard that he was taking 90% of his snaps out of the shotgun because he literally cannot do a 5-step drop. He's just so physically limited that their offense is shot. And until he can get right, they're going to be a bad team, bad offensive team. He's a shell of himself. He doesn't even look like the same guy. When we first heard and saw his injury in the summer, the concern was, oh, he could miss the whole year and the Bengals' Super Bowl hopes are shot. Well, it turns out he hasn't missed any time and their Super Bowl hopes are still almost shot. They're the third best team in their division right now. They're better than the Steelers still, but that's not saying much given where the Steelers are. They're currently 1-3, and they're facing the Cardinals this week, who are the weirdest bad team of all time. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals beat them. So if they lose this week, let's say they win and they're 2-3, they lose, they're 1-4. They're coming up on the Seahawks, 49ers, Bills, Texans, and Ravens. That's all in the next few weeks. Their season is very close to over, and as the wise Yogi Berra, rest in peace, once said, it's getting late early.
That's good. I actually didn't know that one.
Yeah.
They are running out of time. They're 1-3, so I don't remember. I don't have the odds in front of me that they make the postseason after starting 1-3. But like you said, yeah, Burrow has struggled mightily. The calf injury is clearly limiting the downfield passing ability of that offense, and it kind of seems like a ticking time bomb. If you're 1-3, I don't really understand why you keep leaving your star franchise quarterback out there exposed, because we've seen this season what can happen when a quarterback's dealing with a calf injury and they risk it and play. You could cause some serious damage to other parts of your leg. He's the first quarterback ever through 4 games to have 150 plus pass attempts with an ADOT of less than 5 yards, and it all ties back to the fact that he's not fully healthy. It's limiting what that offense does best, the bread and butter that has gotten them so much success in the regular season and playoffs, and I think it's very irresponsible for them to keep trotting him out there right now.
I think if they lose this week to the Cardinals, I think you shut him down until at least after the bye. From my understanding of the injury is that it will heal relatively quickly if you're not active. So if they shut him down for a couple weeks, he could come back and be fully fine. There's always the risk of re-aggravation until it's 100% healed, but it could get to the point where he's not hobbled anymore. So they could do that and just have him come back and, hope that you win a couple games. But again, this is the same issue that I had with the Jets, and it's now the issue I have with the Bengals is the Jets came into this year with a 40-year-old quarterback who, even though he's been healthy his whole career, he's 40 years old. There's always a heightened risk of injury when you are 40 years old playing in the NFL. And they knew, aside from last night's performance, that Zach Wilson wasn't very good. And they still didn't bring in a veteran quarterback. And then you wait till week 3 to bring in Trevor Siemian. When at the time, when you signed Rodgers, you probably could have brought in a Teddy Bridgewater or a Taylor Heineke or someone like that who could at least hold down the fort in the event Rodgers did get hurt. Joe Burrow got hurt in, July? And they decided to run him out there with his backup as Jake Browning. If you had a Teddy Bridgewater or a Taylor Heineke or someone like that as your backup, you could sit Joe Burrow down for a couple weeks and you could still possibly win a couple games. But now he's at that weird point where he's healthy enough to play, but he's clearly hobbled to the point where it's hurting them. So what do you do? You put Jake Browning out there who's never taken an NFL snap?
I think you have to. I mean, the last thing you want with Burrow is another major leg injury.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm disagreeing with them.
It's what the Yankees did. It's what the Jets did. You can't just assume in sports that your star player isn't going to get hurt.
But he already did get hurt. They had the opportunity.
Right.
They could have done this. They chose not to. If they had brought in a backup quarterback who was even Gardner Minshew, someone who is competent that you can put out there and you think they can win you a game, you could have sat Joe Burrow down right after he re-aggravated his calf week 2. You could have done that for the last 2 weeks and hoped maybe to tread water. Or, worst case, you're in the same position you are right now.
And he's healthy.
And he's coming back healthy. So they pigeonholed themselves into this. It's their fault. And That's why I have the same issues with them as I have with the Jets. I blame the front office of both teams. I don't know if it's arrogance or stupidity or what, but we saw the Eagles won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. That should have been your sign that if you have a good team and an injury risk at quarterback, you should probably have a good backup.
Pats won 11 games with Matt Castle.
Yes, you should have a competent backup. That should always be the case. You're telling me they couldn't have put Jake Browning on the practice squad? There's no way a team was out here clamoring to steal his services. There's no way. You could have had him on the practice squad and kept him if you liked him that much. Or the emergency third quarterback that exists now. They could have done so many more things.
And there's a lot of veterans that are available.
Still there's veterans that, like, you could have brought in Carson Wentz. I'm sure, as bad as Wentz is, that he'd be better than freaking Jake Browning if you put him out there.
100%.
So I just am not happy with them because you could have sat him down for the last 2 weeks, still been 1-3, and now be bringing him back healthy to win you a lot of games.
Not constantly at risk at losing him for the whole season and longer.
Yes. Constantly at risk of losing him for the whole year, if not longer, while still losing all those games.
Which you would have anyway.
Exactly.
All right. Well, okay. So my storyline was the Burrow thing and the Bengals too, but we're gonna audible on the fly to something that I've discussed on the podcast in the past, and that is that Texans rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud looks like he's gonna be a true elite franchise kind of guy. He had 16 completions on 30 attempts for 306 yards and 2 touchdowns in the Texans' 30-6 win over Pittsburgh. He's now at 1,212 yards for the season, which puts him ahead of Mahomes, Herbert, and Luck, and in second place all-time for most passing yards through a quarterback's four career starts, trailing only Cam Newton. He has the third most passing attempts by a rookie ever without an interception to start a career, behind only 2 players. Do you have any guesses who they are? Current quarterbacks.
Yeah. I know who it is. One of them is really bad.
They're both good.
Oh, who is it then?
It's Dak.
Okay.
And it's Tua.
Oh.
He's also the first quarterback to throw for 300 yards twice in their first 4 starts since Burrow and Herbert, both in 2020. First Texans quarterback to throw for 200 yards or more in his first 4 career games. He's doing this with a weapons unit that was unheralded coming into the season. Guys like Nico Collins and Tank Dell have been balling. The offensive line is very banged up and still missing a lot of starters, but it seems like C.J. Stroud right now was the steal of the draft, even though he went number 2 overall. And if he keeps going on this trajectory, then the Texans will be back to relevancy pretty soon.
I asked in our group chat for fantasy advice if I should pick up Purdy or Stroud, and my heart told me Stroud, but all of our friends told me Purdy.
Yep, you should have picked up Stroud.
I know I should have, and someone else did now.
In our league?
No, different league. And I'm upset. I'm very much upset about it. And my team's good. And now because my stupid quarterback is Justin Fields, who I had on my bench yesterday. So that's fun.
I benched him in my Dynasty League too. Mistake.
Not only did I bench him, I also didn't play Nico Collins. Same league.
Oh.
And I lost because of it.
Yeah, that's tough. Nico Collins had like 7 for $160.
Oh, yeah. He had 30-plus points. If I started Nico Collins, I would have won. I played Amari Cooper because I liked what I saw with DTR in friggin' preseason. I just thought he'd favor his number 1 target, but he couldn't complete a pass.
No, yeah, DTR bad.
I've never seen a less prepared quarterback in my whole life. A less equipped quarterback to play in the NFL.
Deshaun Kaiser had some moments.
That's fair. In recent memory. Very recent memory. He was like running around with his head cut off, it looked like. It looked like the Broncos wide receiver.
Kendall something? Hinton?
Yeah, Kendall Hinton. That's how it looked to me.
The COVID spot start.
Yes.
That's my storyline is C.J. Stroud's ascendancy into the small group of young elite passers.
Yeah, I think he's awesome. I'm glad that we're well-documented Stroud supporters on this pod.
Stroud boys, as they call them on PMT.
That's good. Wish we'd thought of that.
It is good. They have one for Bryce Young, too, but I can't remember what it is.
Got nothing. Want to move on to? You want to give your surprise, or should I give my surprise?
No, I'll give my surprise.
Yeah, that way I don't steal it again.
Okay, my surprise, and it's a disappointing surprise. Well, it's a bad surprise, not a disappointing surprise. It's that the Chicago Bears coaching staff is absolutely drowning in the responsibilities that they have no idea how to manage. We've discussed on the podcast the resignation and silence surrounding the resignation of defensive coordinator Alan Williams. They were just up 28-7 on the hapless Denver Broncos on Sunday before blowing the lead and losing 31-28 in regulation at home. Chase Claypool was not at the game. Reporters asked after. They asked head coach Matt Eberflus if it was team determined that he stay away from the organization or if it was up to him. He fumbled over his words for a little before finally saying that his understanding was that it was up to the player. This was immediately corrected by a statement from the team that said that the team asked him to stay home. So it seems like he won't ever show up again. Nobody's giving straight answers, and it seems like they are on borrowed time in Chicago already.
Eberflus said it was player choice?
Yeah, he lied. He either lied or didn't really himself understand what was going on.
But that's his call to make.
Yeah, he probably lied.
That's bad.
Yeah, I fielded I haven't watched his presser from today, but the first 12 or so questions were all about Claypool.
I mean, we were talking about this, that the guy wasn't even trying out there.
Yeah, you were one of the first ones to call this.
To bring it to your attention? Yeah, the guy was literally, I sent you the low light video of him. It's literally not even attempting to make blocks out there, barely running routes. I don't know. Maybe he's happier streaming video games or something. I don't know. It's for a guy with that much physical talent and who had already shown success in the league, it's confusing.
It's baffling.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't know. You see it happen with just Josh Reynolds. You see him go out there and catch 2 passes because he's just big, and you throw big guys like that red zone targets. And those guys like that make money. Kenny Golladay got paid big for doing exactly what Chase Claypool could do. And I know he's a good example because of how bad he actually was. He's just a big target. Stafford just threw it up to him. So I don't know. It's weird. It's very strange. I don't know why he would act this way. I don't know what the Bears coaching staff is doing over there. I thought the front office that they brought in, they all seemed very capable. Ryan Poles was, where did he work? The Chiefs before this? He seemed like a very smart guy, and they were reporting he was sleeping in his office at the stadium or whatever last year. It's also on him for bringing in this coaching staff. So
it's the worst trade of his Bears career.
Is the Claypool one? Yeah. I mean, that was bad at the time.
It was bad knowing what the pick ended up being, yeah.
It was a second rounder, right?
It was a second rounder, but it was the 32nd pick in the draft.
And who did it become?
Joey Porter Jr., I think.
Okay.
Well, because someone was the Dolphins were stripped of a first round pick, so it ended up being what would have been typically the last player in the first round.
I think even not knowing what the pick would become, even if it was the 50th pick, I still think it's an awful trade because you can get a really good wide receiver for a 5th round pick now.
Dude, they could have given a 5th round pick and it still would have been a bad trade with what's followed.
Yeah, but that's just at least you're taking a flyer on a guy. That's not you're making an investment in a guy.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, friggin' DeAndre Hopkins in his prime got traded for an aging running back and a 5th round pick. It was an awful trade, but there is that trade to be made. They could have gotten another guy for way less and gotten way more in return. Very bad move. Bad on all accounts, honestly.
That's my surprise, is just how dysfunctional can this thing get, seemingly more and more by the week.
I don't know if this was just the Broncos' awful defense, because it's truly putrid, or if they were letting Fields play a little bit more and giving him easier reads. I don't know what it was, but he looked like a different man out there.
I still don't think he's good.
No, it's not a matter of him being good. I'm talking strictly for my fantasy purposes. I hope that he can play better.
Me too.
Like that. Maybe not like that, but just, that one play in the red zone where he was about to cross the line of scrimmage and he threw the touchdown to Kmet. That is a play that only certain players can make. And he's physically gifted enough that he can do that. And that's the kind of stuff that Obviously, you can't design plays like that, but you can cater schemes to guys' strengths, and that's what they should have been doing all along for him.
I agree. They're trying to
Square peg, round hole.
Yeah, they're trying to force him to fit into their grand vision for how they would like the quarterback of a championship caliber team to be, and that's not what he is, and it's not working.
No, I just don't think they should have taken that approach, but I mean, I don't think that's...
It'll cost them.
Yeah, I think they'll all be out of jobs because of it. So
I hope so.
I do too, for your sake.
I just want a fresh start.
Crazy how soon it's coming from the last fresh start.
Oh,
Right
man.
off the top of your
My surprise is the three-headed monster of resurgent QBs. Resurgent could be career-wise, could be for this one game, could be after a bad week last week. So I've got
One game. I wonder who this is going to be.
Sam Howell.
Uh-huh.
I got Zach Wilson and Baker Mayfield. So Baker Mayfield's resurgent as first-round pick was pretty good at a time, then horrible. Zach Wilson was bad for his whole career, was good this one time, and Sam Howell has been pretty good, was horrible last week, and then was good again this week. So it's all resurgent in their own ways. So that's the three-headed monster of Baker, Sam Howell, and Zach Wilson. I was very surprised by all of their performances this week. Baker broke the Saints franchise record of allowing...
Bucks.
No. Saints had
Oh,
a
my
franchise record of allowing 20 points or fewer in 21 straight games coming into this week, and Baker broke that. He completed 25 of 32 for 246 and 3 touchdowns, adding 31 more on the ground. This game was more about the defense than the offense, but Baker seems to elevate that team in some way. They seem to buy into his energy, and that's exactly what you need for him. You need a team that's going to buy into his rah-rah energy kind of stuff, and they seem to rally around him in all of his weird energy, momentum-building plays, and I think that's cool, and I'm actually happy for him. And now that he's not in all the commercials, I don't have to see him as much. It's easier to root for him. Sam Howell last week crushed 9 sacks, 4 picks, looked pretty hopeless. Comes into this game against a very prolific Eagles defense, 29 for 41, 290 and a touchdown, and ran for 40. And his last drive to tie it up with zeros on the clock was incredibly impressive, and he has shown me enough that I'm pretty confident in his ability as a starting quarterback. I don't know what his ceiling is, and I don't know what his floor is, but I do think he's good enough to be a starter.
I agree with that. I've been very impressed by how...
Very impressed. And Zach Wilson... I mean, just who saw that coming? Literally, he completed one pass, and it was like, oh, all right, this is interesting. I've never seen him do that before. And then he threw I think it was a back shoulder fade for a touchdown. And I was like, who is this guy? Then he ran for the 2-point conversion. I was like, what is happening right now? Granted, he blew it in the end with that fumble. But I don't know if this is anything. It's probably nothing going forward. This is probably just the outlier game where circumstances dictated his performance. But the game ended up being very entertaining, and no one thought it would be. He showed more in this game than he's shown me ever before in the NFL. He looked actually pretty good. I was going to say competent, but he looked beyond competent. If he could even be a half of what he was last night going forward, and just be a competent to below average quarterback, at the very least, Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall are fantasy viable, which is all I could ask for.
I have a little bit on resurgent quarterback play later, so I'll leave some of my commentary and response till then. But I agree that the Bucs do seem to rally around Baker, and he does have that infectious energy that if you get a team that vibes with him, he's the kind of guy that people will totally be happy to go to battle with. But I'll leave some of the other stuff for later, I guess, for now. Do you want to go on to your disappointments?
You want me to go or you?
You can go.
My disappointment is Bryce Young. Is that also yours?
No.
Okay,
No.
thank God. It's not that he's been horrific, and it's not that the Panthers are bad. Coming into the year, we said he was in for a rough one. Their run game is non-existent even with Miles Sanders. They just don't create holes for him. Their receivers are average at best. Their O-line is nothing to write home about. And They've only scored 2 touchdowns in the 12 quarters he's been under center. Again, like we said, I knew he was in for it rough this year. But I've seen stretches of greatness from Anthony Richardson. I've seen entire great games from CJ Stroud. I haven't seen anything from Bryce Young to lead me to believe he's remotely as good as either of them. I'm not writing him off. He's extremely accurate as a passer. I'm disappointed in how little he's shown me. I'm sure Panthers fans would love for a guy that they have this much investment in, they traded up to get, for him to be showing more. Right now, all that he's shown is that he's an accurate passer, which there's been a lot of accurate passers who flamed out of the league.
Yeah, the things that he was doing at Alabama that were uncommon for somebody with the physical limitations that he has were things like avoiding pressure in the pocket, not really getting hit hard, pushing the ball downfield, and he has struggled mightily to do that at the NFL level, and it's hard not to think that a lot of it has to do with his size, and he just eye tests too. He looks tiny.
Watching him try to escape the pocket he looks, like you said, tiny.
Yeah.
And he doesn't look quick like Kyler does escaping the pocket. He looks small and he looks slow. And I'm not saying he's slow, but he just doesn't look like he has the quickness to evade pressure in the way that he needs to at that size.
I agree.
Again, not writing him off. He hasn't shown me much of anything, and he is my disappointment. Especially given, like, Andy Dalton went in there and made that offense look competent.
Yeah, and Andy Dalton was pushing the ball downfield.
Yeah, he was. And I'd like to see a little more Andy Dalton out of Bryce Young.
My disappointment is the McCorkle-Jones era in New England is over. I'm not saying he won't play for them again. He got pulled for Bailey Zappi yesterday after the ugly showing against Dallas. New England is now 31st in scoring at 13.8 points per game, 29th in EPA per play at negative .18. Turned the ball over 7 times in 4 games, just 7 20-plus yard plays. Mack himself is 30th out of 31 qualified quarterbacks in total EPA against man coverage, and he's completing passes at a 46.5% clip when they play man-to-man. And yesterday was as bad a showing as I can remember a Patriots quarterback having. He was late on reads, which caused, the pick 6 he threw on the left side was just total laziness. He should have known that by the time he was at that read and where the defender was, he couldn't throw that ball, but he pressed it anyway. The fumble was bad. They look hapless and lifeless like the offense did last year, and that everyone thought that bringing in a new offensive coordinator would change things, but it seems like Mack is not going to be the guy there for very long.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that about his reads being late, because his rookie year, that was the thing he excelled at. That was the thing that was, even though he had all the physical limitations and not the greatest arm, but he could make all of the reads, and his processing speed was off the charts, right? That was all the talk. And it doesn't seem like he's reading the game at the level he even did his rookie year, which is crazy. You would think it would go the opposite direction. I think he'll probably start next week. That it seemed like what Belichick was implying, but I agree he's not the guy going forward.
And in terms of quarterback development, this is basically a case study when you have a guy who was, after his rookie year, the best quarterback seemingly from that class, and you bring in a guy that had never called plays at this level before, and he just goes like chugging along this at the start, boom, and who knows, maybe he won't be able to recover from it. Maybe the damage was done at too impressionable a time in a young quarterback's career development arc that it will be hard to right those wrongs.
I think it's what happened with Sam Darnold. Any chance that he had was shot once he started seeing ghosts out there. I just think no matter how much talent you have, if you put them behind a horrific O-line and have horrible coaching, or one or the other, I think you're setting them up and putting them in a position to fail, and not everyone can bounce back from it.
Yep.
You can kill someone's career like that.
Just stifle any hopes they had of a flourishing NFL career.
Yeah, and it's not just the NFL. I genuinely think a lot of the Knicks draft failures over the last few years would have had a much greater chance of success in any other situation. The Sam Darnold comparison keeps coming to mind. We had this exact discussion of if the 49ers would still be a contender if Mac Jones was their quarterback, and you brought up the example of how if Trey Lance and Mac Jones's draft spots had been flipped and they'd each gotten drafted to their respective places, both their careers probably would have been better off. And I think if it's all based on where you are and who your coaches are. Like, I still think if Purdy went down and Sam Darnold was the quarterback for the Niners,
They would win.
they'd win. I'm not saying they wouldn't miss a beat because I think Purdy's good, but Darnold has talent. I think Mac Jones has some talent. I just think that bringing in Matt Patricia and Joe Judge to call plays
Proved disastrous.
was an absolute disaster. Probably, again, he's had so much success in his career that it doesn't matter. But in terms of his Patriots coaching tenure, it's got to be one of the big black marks on Belichick's resume.
100%. 100%. All right. So, games for next week. I have two. The first is Texans at Falcons. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one, but it just ties into the fact that CJ Stroud is now one of those guys, just one of those rookies that you got to watch. We've been there in other sports. Mahomes, Connor McDavid, even like Matt Harvey. That was the name that was escaping me. One of those guys that when they're playing, you just need to tune in because you're going to see something that you might not have before. The second game I have is...
Can I before you get into that, can I touch on this
yeah,
game?
Yeah.
Can you imagine how much fun the Falcons would be if
they
they
had
had
CJ Stroud?
Dude, they would be electric.
It'd be bombs away.
Oh my god, that team would be so much fun.
I was thinking earlier, if the Vikings don't roll forward with Kirk next year, the Falcons should make a hard push.
They have a lot of talent on that team.
Yeah. And then my second game is Eagles-Rams. I think this is going to be an interesting game because the Eagles are undefeated, but I think anyone will be able to tell you that they have not looked fantastic. Nowhere near the level they were playing at last year, which is somewhat expected because they played a lot of football last year, a lot of physical football. They had a lot of new faces, including both sides of the coaching staff, and they'll be the first to tell you also they haven't played their best. And I think it'll be a good test against one of the best coaches in the NFL, one of the best quarterbacks in history. Stafford's look great, so I think it could be an entertaining matchup.
Anything that involves Puka Nacua, I'm in on.
Yeah, you got that overtime touchdown did damage for my fantasy hopes.
Yes, it did. He's unbelievable, dude. He's so much fun to watch. But I think that's a good matchup. Honestly, both of those were in consideration for my matchups to watch. Also, just the first one because of the talent. Just there's so much offensive talent on both teams. Like Stroud, Damian Pierce, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, young talent, I should specify. And then for the Falcons, it's Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Drake London. I mean, even Tyler Algiers, a second year, coming off 1,000 rushing yards. Like, there's so much young offensive talent on both teams. It's just like a good league pass game to watch, I would say. And my two matchups are Cowboys-Niners, which, for obvious reasons, two of the NFC's two elite defenses. I think this is a huge test for the Cowboys' offense. They have not looked good at all. They're 7 of 19 in the red zone so far this year, which is just really bad. If they're going to beat the Niners, they're going to need to do a lot better than that because the Niners' defense is also prolific, and it's a huge, huge litmus test for the Cowboys. I think the Niners are who they are, and I don't think any loss throughout the season, unless they went on like a 6-game losing streak, would affect my opinion on them. But if Dallas goes out there and puts out a good performance and beats the Niners, I think it says a lot about them.
I agree. This is probably the two best teams in the NFC. Maybe not Dallas anymore after the Diggs injury, but you know that they're going to play the best team in the conference. And if you're looking for an opportunity to measure yourself against the class of the conference, it's not going to get better than Sunday night on the road at Levi Stadium against the Niners in this situation.
I think it's a really good test. I think it's going to be an awesome game. I think the Niners will win. I just don't really believe in the Cowboys as a true contender in the way I do the Niners, but I think it's a really good test. And if they go out and beat the Niners, it will go a long way towards changing my mind and my impression of them. And my second is Jags-Bills. I think this is a bit of a trap game for the Bills, coming off a huge statement win over the Dolphins. Also, it's, they have to travel to London, whereas the Jags are already there. And also the Jags played there like 14 times, so it's basically home field advantage for them. And the Jaguars have shown flashes of who we think they are. And same with, although Trevor Lawrence has actually been really good. He's been let down by a lot of drops and I think just like scheming and play calling. But I'd like to see the version of Trevor Lawrence that we all know. I would love for him to go and stand up and look comparable to Josh Allen. I'm not saying that he is or that he's on the same level as him, but he's the tier below, so you'd like to see him go out there and put on a good performance. I think there's a bit of an ego play there, but I think it's a big trap game for the Bills. I think the Jags are coming off an unconvincing win over the Falcons. It'll be an interesting matchup to watch.
Yeah, I like this game. I think one of the things that separates somebody that's in that not top of the pyramid, but the second level in terms of quarterback rankings, one of the things that separates them, so Trevor Lawrence from a guy like Josh Allen, is just consistency. And if he wants to get into that top tier, it's going to start with having great showings against quarterbacks like this, and then eventually getting to the point where he strings them together week after week.
Couldn't agree more.
Cool. That'll be a dope game. Do you want to go on to awards?
Yes.
Sweet.
You go first this week. I went first last week.
All right. My first award is the Come On Dude Award. Not to be confused with Come On Man.
Yeah, no copyright issues here. This
No.
is the Come On Dude Award. Is it Zach Wilson?
Yes, this is going to the Zach Wilson is good narrative.
Oh, okay. So I was not quite there. I was thinking it was Zach Wilson for his fumble, because it's like, come on, dude. You finally had a good game, and then you blow it?
No, so this is going to everybody. Chris Collinsworth on the broadcast. Well, Zach Wilson is throwing together some good plays in succession, talking about how he's learning the ropes, piecing this together as if he's C.J. Stroud in his fourth career game and not in his and not as if he's 9-17 as a starter. He puts together two good drives, one of which is right at a halftime, and every play on that is probably scripted. And all of a sudden we have to pretend like we don't have this enormous sample size of Zach Wilson being the worst quarterback we've ever seen, compared to the very, very, very small couple good plays he threw together yesterday that has Jets fans legitimately convinced he's not terrible anymore, or might not be. It is fucking crazy, dude. Justin Fields threw for 304 touchdowns, and I still think he's bad. This guy had an eighth as good a game.
It takes a lot more than a few good drives to make a good quarterback.
Yes.
I completely agree. My point from earlier of his resurgence was more about the fact that, one, no one who the hell saw any bit of competence coming out of him.
Yeah.
Two, his competence actually looked good, which was shocking to me. But
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm
Yes.
just saying, like, to go from that to maybe this guy's not terrible is a stretch right now.
No. He has given us zero reason to believe that any of what he did yesterday was sustainable.
Sustainable, yes. I agree with that.
What surprised me yesterday was he was showing finally, at least it was like, okay, I can see some bit of why they drafted this guy. Whereas every other game, every other snap I'd ever seen him play, it was like,
What did they see?
it's like, what on earth did they see in this guy? He has no talent. He's not good at anything. Right? So that was that. But I agree. What was, let's hold our horses here.
Pump the brakes.
Yeah, pump the brakes. He's clearly, we've seen a lot of Zach Wilson.
We know who Zach
Yeah.
Wilson is. There's no ambiguity anymore.
No. If he can give you some level of like below average backup quarterback play, which is a huge step up from where he's been, that's great for the Jets, even just like Jets fans' sanity going forward. But to expect him to like be a starting level quarterback after everything we've seen is asking far too much and expecting way too much.
Way too much.
I think this is like the Jets fans have just been hurt too many times.
It's a spin zone, yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're gonna let ourselves believe this, kind of like delusion.
We won't get hurt again.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. Like, even the Justin Fields, he put up a way better game, and he's put up way better games in his career. I honestly think Fields could be a starter at some point. I don't think it'll be for the Bears. I think it would have to be a team catering their entire offense around him. I think he has that ability because he has an elite trait. Zach Wilson doesn't do anything elite.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He doesn't. He has decent arm talent. Like, he can throw the football. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're putting the cart before the horse here.
100%.
Yeah.
We're moving. The 24-hour media cycle is moving a little too fast on this one.
Yeah, we're at like the 12-hour media cycle for right now. Like, yes, did he outplay Mahomes yesterday? Probably. Mahomes had one of the worst games of his career, and Zach Wilson had by far the best of his entire career. So, but that doesn't make him good. Rex Grossman led the Bears didn't lead the Bears to the Super Bowl. Was on the Bears in a Super Bowl.
Led them to a Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah, I think led to is.
I see your problem. Yeah.
He was on the Bears, was the starting quarterback for the Bears in the Super Bowl, but he wasn't a good quarterback. It's just you can have stretches of competence and not be a good quarterback. I'm with you. Let's simmer down here.
Do you want to do your first award?
Yeah. My first award is the Accidental Edible Award.
Okay, so this is a situation where somebody did one thing, expecting the situation to play out in a certain way, but they were very much taken aback with the setting that they found themselves in later because of directly related to the actions that they took earlier.
It's not quite. It's literally like somebody thought that they had a big... Let's say you had a big test in the morning and you wake up and you go to take your gummy vitamins and you accidentally pop a couple 500 milligram edibles in there and you're you're just like zooted all day and people are looking at you and you're like, I don't know, man, something's up with me today. Like that's what it was. So does that help you at all? Someone who looked stoned and unlike themselves. Is this going to Mad Dog? No, this is going to, I don't know why. Why do you think that? I'm just curious.
Because he was talking about how he was going to pop an edible.
Oh, no. This is going to Mahomes. In last night's game, he had 2 touch passes that like normally would be pretty routine plays for him.
That were garbage throws.
He left like 10 yards short right into his the middle linebacker's hands.
It was a Zach Wilson throw.
Yeah, it was literally like Mahomes tried to take his Flintstone gummies before the games. He accidentally got super stoned and is out there like trying to throw these little touch passes and just has no ability to like feel his muscles and has no idea how far things are going. Like that's what he looked like out there. If you told me Mahomes was high and when he threw those picks, I'd believe you. That's what it looked like. So it looked like he took an accidental edible.
I like that award.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah. My second award is the Jim Tom Sula Award.
Is going to Eberflus?
Yep.
Yeah, just the worst coach pretty much ever.
Just so in over his head that you're not even really mad at him because you're just like, you know what? This is a nice guy. Like, he's doing his best. He was given this responsibility, and it was totally a mistake to give it to him. Irresponsible of his bosses to put him in this situation. And let's just keep telling him he's doing a great job, and we'll get him out of here as soon as possible at the end of it.
Kind of feels like what the Jets were doing with Zach Wilson.
Yeah, true.
You're doing great, buddy. You're doing great. Yeah. Once you invoked the Tom Sula name, I knew this was going to.
Yeah.
If we were doing this pod last season, it would have got that same award would have gone to Hackett.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. It's similar levels of ineptitude. We've hammered this point home, but it's just
he's lost control of the organization.
Could not honestly isn't doing a single thing right.
No.
So
there's no positives.
At this point, you just ride out the season because replacing him now is not going to do anything.
I wish the season was over. So
you wish the Bears season was over.
Yes.
Thank you.
Because I actually
the rest of football is cool.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I knew what you meant. All right. My second award is the Patriots Randy Moss Award.
Patriots Randy. So this is going to somebody that is just with a bullet the number one player at their position.
Yes, but specifically,
is this going to Khalil Mack?
It is not.
Okay.
It is not. It is going. Do you want to keep going or
no? But Khalil Mack guess was unrelated to why I guess the award was going for anyway.
Okay.
That was just somebody that's set an award record.
Okay. Yeah. What, he had 6 sacks yesterday?
Yeah.
So when the Patriots acquired Randy Moss, there couldn't have been a more perfect fit of elite talent and scheme, a more perfect marriage than that pairing, essentially. And that is the equivalent of Christian McCaffrey and the 49ers. His prodigious talent and the scheme of the 49ers couldn't have been a more perfect marriage. And we're seeing now that elite level of talent. Like, we saw Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert and Breida and other guys who were okay NFL running backs put up good numbers in that system. But you're seeing what happens when the perfect elite level talent is put into that system, what he's doing, and I think he's got a touchdown in
every game.
14 straight games it is now, something like that.
As a 49er.
He set the record now for most games with a touchdown in a row as a 49er. What, he had 4 yesterday? He could have easily had 5. They tried to give the use check. It is unbelievable the things he's doing. He looks like he's playing a different game out there, dude. He looks untackleable. It's unreal. And that's what it was when Randy Moss joined the Patriots. Like, you'd seen other wide receivers have success there, but they were a little bit different. It was usually slot guys. And, Deion Branch was pretty good, and there's other outside receivers. But you put Randy Moss on that team, and Tom Brady was airing it out like it was nobody's business. It was untouchable, those two. And that's what CMC and the 49ers is.
And they're able to do it because they have a quarterback on the cheapest rookie deal fathomable.
Literally. What about undrafteds? Do they get paid more?
I guess of draft picks. They might, but of draft picks, I was thinking.
Yeah, for sure. Literally. And he also happens to be pretty damn good. He had 1 incompletion yesterday.
Yeah.
So that was Patriots Randy Moss award goes to Christian McCaffrey.
Sweet. Do you want to do bold prediction of the year?
Of the week.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll start this one up. So my bold prediction of the week is Taylor Heineke will come in
Oh,
a second.
damn it.
That's yours?
Yeah, that's mine.
All right. Well, that's all right. That's all right. I guess we could share one this week.
All right.
You have Taylor Heineke's coming in at halftime?
I had Desmond Ritter is going to get pulled for Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, I have him. But do you have him that he's leading them to a win?
No, I don't. I just had this is the end of Desmond Ritter.
Oh, I had them then. Okay, so I don't know. How do you want to do this? Do you want to share it or?
We could share this one.
Okay, yeah, let's share it this week. We've already gone in depth on everything else. Yeah. I think Desmond Ritter's shown he's not good at all.
I agree. I've seen enough.
Yeah, he's should have been benched last game, honestly.
It makes way more sense why Arthur Smith was so reluctant to make the change last year and held out for so long. Even though people were calling for it.
Honestly, he looks worse than Mariota did.
Yep.
I think they'd probably won more games if Mariota was still the starter. Their team's good. What did I give them? The Bucks before Brady award last week? Because they have their defense is stout. And they have so many weapons, like I just went into before. It's just Ritter's so bad, dude. Some of those picks he was throwing, and I watched a lot of that game because it was essentially like a primetime game. So he's real bad. I
was literally thinking to myself while watching that, now I understand why Mariota left entirely. He was like, if they're playing this guy over me, then we're lost.
Honestly, when you put it into that perspective, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Also, the person I was trying to think of, the big wide receiver you can just throw it up to, and I thought of Josh Reynolds. I was thinking of Desmond Ritter just throwing it to Drake London and it being like the easiest near completion ever, and then
or just throwing it deep to Kyle Pitts, who's awesome.
Yeah. No, but in last game, he threw it deep in the end zone, just threw it up to Drake London, and he got pushed out of bounds, but it was just the easiest catch and throw of all time, and that's what you can do with a guy of that size. That's what Justin Fields could do with Claypool. He's just a moron.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No. Good episode.
Yeah.
Good
show.
A lot of topics. I got to tell people where they can find us.
Yep.
Again, I haven't done any more work on this, so if anything, I think I've gotten worse. So let's do it. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Podcast DB, Overcast. Yep, same thing. 11 every time. It's always 11.
Cool.
We got anything in the store that can? I said TikTok? Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Twitter. We're on Twitter.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, 12. New record.
Yeah, this was episode 24. I don't even remember if I said that
Yeah,
at the
24.
beginning. Tom, thank you.
Thank you.
Producer Rue, thank you. Mike, thank you. Breaks Down Podcast 528. Cool. We're out.
See you next week.